lesson, we are going to take the eyes that we did last week and do the color wheel on there. So we divided it into 12 sections, and now we're going to take watercolor pencils and color them in by layering 2 different colors on top of each other to make the color wheel, just like we did with our worksheet. So these are watercolor pencils, and what's cool about them is you can layer one on top of another, and it's not messy. You can be really detailed and neat, and then when you take a paintbrush and water and add water to it, it turns into paint. So if I were to take the red and the violet and lay them on top of each other and then get them wet and mix it together, it would be red-violet. Or if I did red and blue, I could make purple with it. So we're going to use that to mix colors. Just like regular colored pencils, we really want to try and stay neat and clean and in the lines, and lay down color really evenly. So I'm going to start with the top of my color wheel being red, and we're going to use the same color wheel that I have on my word wall. So if you get confused about what goes where, you can look at the word wall. And I'm basically just going to really carefully, I always like to outline first so that I stay in the lines. And once I outline, then go back and color in. Now, you don't need to press super hard for these. It's going to get darker when we add water. Just kind of press medium. Okay. Now, I think the easiest way to do it is to color everything first and then add water, because otherwise it starts running in together. So the next one is going to be, if we look up at the color wheel, it's going to be red-violet. So I put red down, and I'm going to press lighter. I'm not going to press as dark as I did for just red, because I'm going to layer 2 colors. So I'm going to press light and put down some red. And then I'm going to take my violet and go on top of it. Again, pressing pretty light. We're trying to get an even amount of purple and red, so it's not one way or another. Then the next color next to that is going to be violet. So I color that. And right now it just looks like colored pencil, but in a minute it's going to get really bright. I'm going to press a little darker. Okay. And make sure you're outlining this outside edge like this. Don't just color this way. I want a really nice clean line. Okay, next to that is going to be blue-violet. So I go a little bit lighter and lay down some violet, and then I'm going to lay blue on top of it. So first violet. So notice I did purple 3 in a row. So when you get a color, because you might have to share, think about every single section that you're going to have to use that color with, and just do them all at once. So the next 3 are going to have blue in it. So this one's blue-violet, and then it's going to go blue. So then I go a little darker. The solid colors are always darker than the mixed ones. So again, this looks kind of messy, so I'm going to go back and clean it up going this way. So it looks a little cleaner. And if you make a little mistake like that little tiny bit, that's fine. Okay, so then the next color would be green-violet. So I'm putting down blue again. So again, 1, 2, 3. 3 of them in a row have blue. And I'm going to press lighter than this. Lay down my blue. Make this a little lighter. And then I lay down my green. And again, I'm pressing pretty light because I want them to be even. And then after that, this one's green. And if you notice, across from the green is red, which is right because it should be complementary colors. So green and red are complementary colors and they're across from each other on the color wheel. So across from the blue will be orange and across from the purple will be yellow. That's how we know we're doing our wheel right. Okay, then we do green again, press lighter. And what color is going to go over this? Yellow. And yellow is so light that I am actually pressing a little bit darker with the yellow. And then got just straight yellow here, and that's across from the purple, so we know that we're right, because those are complementary colors and they should be across from each other on the color wheel. Okay, and then yellow again. And what color is going to go on top of this? Orange. Yellow, orange. Again, if you need help, look up at the word wall. You can get up and go to the chart and look and see what colors are next. It should be exactly like the one on the word wall. So I'm laying orange over that, and I'm not going to press as hard with the orange as I did with the yellow, because it tends to overpower the yellow. In fact, I might put just a little bit of yellow over that, just so it doesn't, so I can tell. Okay, now straight orange. A little faster. Okay, and then try not to leave any white spots, and then red orange. So I lay down the orange. Don't press quite as hard. And then I lay down the red. Okay, so now we get to the fun part, adding water. I'm not going to do it, but get a black and do the inside black. But I like to always leave a little tiny white highlight that I'll draw in white, so draw black all the way around. Now we get our brush and we start coloring. You don't want a really, really wet brush, so make sure you are dipping and then wiping 3 or 4 times. And then we're going to do little circular motions. Try and stay in the lines. And it turns into paint. In between each color, we want to wash our brush by wiggling it in the water until it's clean, and then wiping it 3 or 4 times before moving on to the next one. If I add water and just start painting like this over everything, it's all going to mix together and make a muddy brown. You can only do one section at a time. So make sure you are not just like trying to go fast and not cleaning your brush in between. You really have to clean your brush. So then once you are all done, it should look like the one behind me. If you have extra time, you can go back and add maybe some black along the lash line to make the eye pop out a little bit, and then go and wet that. If you mix your colors kind of unevenly, let's say you can't really tell that that's blue-violet, you're going to have to wait for it to dry before you add another layer. You can't go and just draw on top of the wet paint. You've got to wait for it to dry, and then you can redo it. And then I would do the black last. All right. So I'm not going to finish this up because I think you guys get the drift. But when it's all done, it should look like the one up on the board.